Welcome back to another episode of this My Team Career Mode. This time we got racing around Miami, but apologies for the lack of uploads over the last couple of days. I've been busy with a lot of real life stuff, sorting out just a lot of things for college, etc. But we are back for Miami. I had this recorded a couple of days ago, just haven't had the chance to edit it and all of that. So just going through all the development and putting an upgrade onto Jensen Button. I'm looking for the components now, just changing some components, because if you saw in Jeddah last episode, we had a gearbox issue, which limited us for a certain part of the race. We lost fourth gear. Going through messages, interesting weekend, and doing some more owner trainings. We get another training pod. I decided to put one on the corporate, and now we're going to go to facilities, activities, so we can start doing the training. Speaking of Miami is actually normally quite the interesting race. The AI straight line speed in Miami is always a lot better compared to other tracks, but then in the corners, the player can always gain a lot more. So interesting to see how we can do in Miami. Obviously, car performance will be saying we should be the worst, and that should be for every track. But you've seen the last two races, we've got a podium in the last two, got an event now, where we're just going through messages at this current moment in time, going through to corporate, going to our customization now, as we can now. We've got a high fan rating, so we can put some more sponsors on the car. Here's the updated livery with some more sponsors on the car. To be honest, it doesn't really look that much different with sponsors. But going back to facility upgrades, just going to do one on the chassis, on the development expansion and the chassis breakthrough. Just now putting another message, aerodynamic breakthrough. We can now get more upgrades to do with the research or the development of the aerodynamics, through on the development, just developing our last bit of the aerodynamics, and now doing some of the powertrain, and then finishing up some durability development when we are going to decide what to put these upgrades on. That will go to Button, then that one goes to Martins. We're slowly closing in on Sauber, and now...
Hey boss, really pleased to say that early talks have progressed well, and we're now in a position to have a first meeting with them, to learn more about what we're each after. It's a bit of a dance, but it'll be worth it, I think. And remember, it doesn't bind us to them. We can always go elsewhere.
So we've got our first driver meeting, and it's with one of our current drivers, Victor Martin. So we're going to see our first stage of talking if we are to renew with Victor Martin, and complete that meeting. We don't really do much, we just look at what was said in the meeting. And now we are on to the race weekend. Everything is all ready. Going to the race weekend. Last race was over with Jensen Button getting the podium. We're going to go back to Victor Martins.
Welcome back to Miami and welcome to qualifying. Only raw speed will separate these drivers today, but the question is, who's got what it takes to get pole?
First lap of sprint qualifying, making our way towards the end of the lap, towards the final braking zone of the racetrack. We go with purple apparently in the middle of the sector as we round the final braking zone. Then it'll be flat out to the line here as we go through the final flat corner. Don't really maximise the inside curve, but I feel like we've got the battery. Let's try and go for a back-to-back push out with 6/10 off Piastri, which is better than normally expected, and a bit wide through turn one, marginally up on the delta, all over the curbs. And then we lose the back end, rejoining, hit the wall with our rear, and then with our front with the final damage. Now on our final run, we've got our senders here. We're 800th of a second down, making our way into arguably the most satisfying sections of the track when you get it right. Maybe it's in the middle part of sector one, towards the uphill chicane to go. We're going to try and send it in, but we're turning a bit too early, and we're into the wall.
Wow, that was a heck of an impact. Let me know you're okay.
Sprint qualifying. Let's go on to the sprint race in Miami.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Sitting at the southeastern coast of Florida, the Miami International Autodrome has 19 corners and 3.36 miles of racing. It's a circuit designed to encourage close racing while meeting the highest safety standards. Either way, I'm sure it's one that will please the fans. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Hamilton, Yuki Tsunoda, and Piastri, Russell, Antonelli, Ocon, and Nico Hülkenberg, Albon, Fernando Alonso, Liam Lawson, and Bortoletto, Button, Hadjar, Pierre Gasly, and Victor Martins, Behrman, Doohan, Sainz, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. Look, we know it's not where you start, it's where you finish, but let's talk about the start now. What's there to help the drivers get away well?
Big pressure at the start of the race, Crofty, for all of them up and down the grid, no matter where you are. But the drivers these days, they practice, practice and practice. They have rigs with them at the circuit where they can sit down with the actual steering wheel from the real car, and they've got lights that they react to. The clutch paddle is tailored around the driver's hands, around their fingers, so they can have optimum position before they start. So there's so much thought and effort that goes into getting these cars off the line.
The formation lap gets underway ahead of today's sprint. It's going to be interesting to see who gets pole position. As all the cars take their positions on the grid, the final preparations have been made, and all that's left is for the drivers to deliver on track.
We are ready and we are set for the Miami sprint race, lining up in P18, 5 lights on, and it's 5 lights out. We're now racing down towards turn 1. We get a decent start compared to the rest of the field. We've already jumped ahead of our teammate. Now look at the Becca lunge on the inside of Isaac Hadjar, as well as the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. And we're 3 wide, I actually believe, with Gabriel Bortoletto, as we have to go slightly wider, but we do make the place on Gabriel Bortoletto. We're now wheel to wheel with Fernando Alonso. We've got it's actually 2x2x2, Ocon and Russell, Albon and Lawson, and ourselves and Alonso. We're going to keep it pinned on the inside, and I'll be around the outside with Alonso. A bit of contact there. We'll try to squeeze him out, closing the door. We're now around the outside of Alonso, now on the power on the exit of Sector 1. Wheel to wheel with wheel to wheel between a lot of drivers here, powering our way down the back straight towards the start of the twists and turns at the end of Sector 2. Under braking now, we just get ahead of Alonso, but we're still side by side with the 2-time world champions. We force him out wide and do get the place. Now Albon and Lawson up next for us, and Albon does get ahead of the V-Cup. We go through the chicane now where a player can make up a lot of time. We're going to lunge down the inside of Lawson. A bit of contact with his side pod, but on the power, we do get the better drive. But now, with the overtake, we're trying to look at race director to see positions for our teammate in all that class. I didn't actually notice we overtook him at the time. The overtake is enabled, and we are just pulling ahead of Lawson. We're going to go defensive to the inside so that Alonso hasn't got anywhere to go. We're still wheel to wheel with Liam Lawson, and as we go down the inside, we're able to break a lot later than the V-car when we are through and up into P12. Quite the decent opening lap, considering how our sprint quali went in the sprint. Here we go for the sprint race in Miami. The 5 like to come out very quickly, and we're racing down towards turn 1. Not the greatest start for the Ferrari. They are 4 wide, making their way into turn 1. It's a Red Bull sandwich with 2 Ferraris sandwich in between. They're still 4 wide through turn 2. As we make it through turn 3, still 4 wide, but now they're in 2 by 2 by 2. As Lando Norris has got the greatest jump he could have ever asked for on the race start. It's Norris from Verstappen and Leclerc and Hamilton. Then behind, Oscar Piastri and Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg in sprint races, absolutely loving it this year. As Hülkenberg wheel to wheel with the McLaren on the power on the exit of the long left. Now powering our way down towards the end of the back straight. Hülkenberg still having a look on the outside of Piastri. Piastri cannot cut back across as Hülkenberg trying around the outside of 2 Ferraris there. Well, wheel to wheel of Leclerc and Hamilton. I do believe that Leclerc did actually keep that place though. Leclerc does keep in front. Piastri on the inside of Hülkenberg does keep the place. We're now looking at the rear of Alexander Albon. We're now going to make a lunge down the inside on Alexander Albon, and we are through at the minute. But Albon gets a better drive on the exit, but in the second phase of the exit we get a better drive, and we are through into P11 and ahead of the Williams drivers. Here comes Liam Lawson. We feel like they need to go, maybe we're going to go a bit defensive towards the inside here, block Liam Lawson so he can't make any chances, keep Albon and Lawson wheel to wheel, and we are still ahead of them. But absolutely nothing has happened in this sprint race since we got ahead of Alex Albon, and as you're going to see now, we have got an ERS issue.
There seems to be an issue with our ERS.
We are not able to use our ERS, which is going to minimise our straight line speed so much. It is going to be absolutely horrid experience for this final lap and a half.
Looks like the ERS isn't functioning. The guys are working on a fix.
Well, I surely hope that he is working on the fixes. Now through turn 2 we go. We lose the rear, hit Liam Lawson. Jenson Button now having a look at Liam Lawson as well. We're just having all sorts of issues now.
Okay, Mark here. I've got an ERS update for you. We're looking at a software problem here. There's nothing you can do, but we're going to try and reset a few things on our end. I'll let you know if anything changes.
Lando Norris is coming around the final corner. Lando Norris wins in Miami for the 2nd year in a row. Only the sprint race this time around, but it's Lando Norris P1, followed behind Leclerc P2, Piastri P3, Verstappen P4. But here is your race winner, Lando Norris in the McLaren. As we're going down the back straight, you can just see no ERS is going to be a major problem. As Jack Doohan going around our outside, he didn't even have DRS on us. That's how bad our straight line speed is as we keep ahead of the Alpine. We've just got to try and push. Look how high the tyre is. This is going to probably indicate that it is at least a 2-stop in this Miami Grand Prix. Just throwing the car through the chicane, gaining whatever we can. We've got 8 tenths of a second, 9 tenths of a second as we now enter the final straight down towards the final corner. Lando has won the sprint, but look at that, we've already lost half a second, lost 6 tenths. We tried to make a defensive move, but Doohan is buying. Albon actually is able to put us under pressure as well. As Albon does actually get ahead of us before the braking zone, but we are able to brake later, and we do keep P14 as we're now making our way up to the line. Jack Doohan gets ahead of us, but we finish in P14 in this Miami sprint race.
So with the sprint concluded, join us next time for qualifying and of course the main event, this weekend's Formula 1 Grand Prix. We'll see you next time.
Just show you the drivers and constructors there, and there is your sprint results. There's your point scorers.
Welcome back to Miami and welcome to qualifying. Only raw speed will separate these drivers today, but the question is, who's got what it takes to get pole?
Around the final corner on our first lap in qualifying. Again, purple in the middle sector, so maybe we are just that much better than the AI in the middle sector. Up and over the line we go. And we go P6, 2 tenths behind Esteban Ocon in the Alpines. We're now making our way to start another lap on a used set of tyres this time, seeing if we can just gain any more lap time to give us more confidence for our final run. Through turn 1 we go. It's a slightly better turn 1, but then we lose on the exit. I then just decided to bail out that lap round the final corner to start our final lap of qualifying. Can we even make it into the second part of any of the qualifying sessions? Through turn 1 we go. Maybe a bit tidy as we do gain time, but then we lose the rear on the exit of turn 2. That's going to put us a temp down, so we've now got to just try and send it here. And it looks like we're going to be going out in Q1 in the first part of qualifying for the second qualifying session in this Miami Grand Prix race weekend in a row. As we go around the long left, we are now 3/10 down, and that is qualifying over. And I just can show you the results here. There's your bottom 6 onto the Grand Prix.
Welcome to the Magic City. We're here at the Miami International Autodrome, the home of the Hard Rock Stadium, a multi-purpose sports and entertainment hub which has hosted Super Bowls, Baseball World Series, numerous rock concerts, and of course, as of 2022, Formula One. With great opportunities for wheel-to-wheel battles featuring 19 corners, 3.36 miles long, and expected average speeds of 138 miles an hour, the Miami International Autodrome will be sure to create lots of chances to overtake. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda and Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Ocon and Alex Albon, Hülkenberg, Behrman, Lance Stroll and Bortoletto, Doohan, Antonelli, Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar, Fernando Alonso, Martins, Button and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. And let's talk momentum with this driver. What a sprint it was. They start at 0 once again for today, but with a huge amount of confidence, surely. Well, they'll definitely be glad that there's not a sprint race today. Let's face it, the sprint couldn't have gone much worse, but what we're looking for today is a reaction. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Here we go for the Miami Grand Prix. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights go on. 5 lights on. 5 lights out, foot to the floor, and we are racing. And the first phase of our start seemed alright, but in the second phase, we're going to probably drop down to P21 here, but we're going to make a massive lunge on the inside, wheel to wheel, with Kimi Antonelli, who started on the soft. Now, what a great start this will be. We make contact with Antonelli, we're forced to go wide, but luckily, we do actually keep the places, as we're now making our way towards the left and right sequence where Leclerc had crashed. Actually, no, Leclerc crashed in this upcoming left and he hit the bump. As now we're going to maybe look on the inside of Doohan, but can't get close enough. But now we're basically pushing Doohan through the corner, who's also started on the hard tyres, now powering our way down the straight towards the heavy braking zone before the sequence, before the chicane. We're not close enough for anyone, but I'll tell you who is close enough. Kimi Antonelli is close enough as Doohan goes late to the inside, and we just find the gap to squeeze ahead of Antonelli, and now on the outside, it switches to the inside of Doohan. Now we're going to make a lunge on the inside of Gabriel Bortoleto. It's another place gained for us in this Grand Prix, up in the P14 from P21. And it is the best possible start for us, making as many places as we possibly could on this Grand Prix race start in our quest to get even more points in our hunt of beating Alpine in the Constructors. We currently lead Alpine, but now we late outbreak Gabriel Bortoleto, and we are set in stone P14 at the end of this first lap. Very decent first lap, considering that we started in P21. As we now start lap 2 of the Miami Grand Prix. Into turn number 1 we go. Not close enough to Nico Hülkenberg as of yet. Through turn 2, through turn 3, Hülkenberg having a little bit of a slide there actually on the exit. But we are set stone P14, and let's have a look at the replay. 5 lights on, and it's 5 lights away we go in Miami. Lando Norris. Decent start for the British driver, but he's wheel to wheel with Max Verstappen, and into turn 1, Max Verstappen leads, or does he? Lando Norris gets the inside line, top 2 are wheel to wheel, Verstappen on the inside, has he got the lead towards turn 6? Lando Norris has to concede. Max Verstappen leads in Miami. Yuki Tsunoda and Oscar Piastri dueling away. There's Piastri, I think, actually just got ahead of Tsunoda, but Tsunoda comes back on the inside, on board now with the Australian, making their way on the exit of the corner, and Yuki Tsunoda gets ahead of Piastri, but for how much longer? Piastri sticking his nose now on the inside. It's wheel to wheel with the Japanese driver, making our way towards the heavy braking zone. Here comes George Russell, 3 abreast into the next corner. It's 3 wide in front as well. 3 wide between Hamilton, Norris and Leclerc. Norris under all sorts of pressure here as the Ferraris going through on Lando Norris, and Hamilton is up into second place now in the race. Look how close to the rear of Nico Hülkenberg we are. Hülkenberg on the outside, we're diving down the inside, a little bit of wheel rubbing between the pair of us. In the first phase, Hülkenberg gets the better exit, but in the second phase was the battery usage, we get the better run, and we are now ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Next up, we've got Esteban Ocon in the Haas as we make a little bit of tyre banging, but we are through into P12, and now next up we're looking at Carlos Sainz. As when I'm saying who we are racing against, we now pull ahead of Carlos Sainz, and we are through into P11 as we're now making our way down the straight, just keeping the check behind me. As you can see, Esteban Ocon losing the car, and Esteban Ocon into the wall and probably out of this race as the safety car is now deployed. And here's the replay camera. Ocon goes to the inside, but offside, probably a late move from Sainz there. Also spooked by the Sauber, as now Ocon went into the wall, and Ocon is out of this Grand Prix. And I think stupidly from me, I decided to come into the pits from the hard tyres. So we've wasted our set of hard tyres, the tyres that could go the longest distance. Although that wear was already 25%, I think I should have stayed out, considering how high the tyre wear on the mediums was. But we're going to go for a gamble. We're going to try and do 24 laps on 2 sets of medium tyres. It's going to be very difficult considering how tight the tyre is, but it could be possible, and it could get us some really, really decent points in this Miami Grand Prix. Safety car is now in, and we have not had the greatest restart, as we are already around a second behind Ollie Behrman on the restart. But that is quite good, because now we can just late brake into turn 1. We get ahead of Behrman. Behrman coming back at us now. Ollie Behrman was squeezing him to the inside, so he has the tightest line possible. We go round the outside, late braking on the Haas driver, and we are through and up into P16 on our quest to get hunting for the arrest again. Now we've got Fernando Alonso in our sights. We've got both Aston Martins actually in our sights. We're going to pull out to the inside. Alonso doesn't defend it, and we dive on the inside, and we are ahead of Fernando Alonso. Next up is Lance Stroll. Once again into turn 1, we're going to try and make a move on an Aston Martin in towards turn 1. We pull out to the inside, and we go late braking again. Yeah, it's a carbon copy of the previous lap. We are now up into the points. We're up into P10, and now next up is our teammate. We're gaining on our teammate. Our teammate is going to not go defensive. We're going to dive down the inside on Jenson Button, and that is now P9 in this race. Quite a simple move for us, but I'm not making that too difficult for ourselves, as now we're going to come in for another pit stop. Hamilton, Leclerc and Verstappen have all got ahead of us. We're going to come in for our final pit stop of this Grand Prix and hope that these tyres, which we go on to now, can make it to the end of the Grand Prix. Just seeing what other tyres everyone else is on. Lots of different strategy ongoing here. And now we're going to pull into the pit box for a set of the medium tyres. 12 laps to do on the medium tyres. Can we make it go? 10 laps was already sketchy enough. 12 laps could be puncture territory towards the end of the race. As we filter out just behind Antonelli, but straight away we're going to go on the attack, lunging it on the inside of the Mercedes driver, the man who got a podium in yesterday's race at Canada, has now been overtaken by us for P14 down the straight towards the twist and turn of Sector 2. Button defending against Behrman on the outside, Button on the inside. Button tried to defend it for us just to try and bring Behrman even closer to us. Behrman's now got the inside. It's going to change to the outside, and Behrman's going to have to back out of it. And instead, Jenson Button backs out of it. But we are not close enough to our teammate to make a launch on the inside. As now we've just got to play the patient game and hope that Button cannot catch up to us. As now you can see once again Button and Behrman dueling away. We go really late on the brakes. Actually, are braking ourselves, and we make contact with the rear left of Behrman, but no major consequence for the pair of us. We are through on Behrman. Now we are gaining on our teammate. Jenson Button's got DRS to Jack Doon. We've now got the outside line for this next corner, for the next left-hander. We go around the outside of Jenson Button, and we are through into P10 once again, back up into the points. As next up we've got Jack Doon and Gabriel Bortoletto to try and overtake. Are we going to go on the attack straight away? Yes, we are, pulling out to the inside, diving down the inside. Bit of wheeled contact between the pair of us, but we are through and up into P9 for the moment. Doon coming back at us now down the straight towards the final corner of the track. Doon is now ahead of us, but now we've got fresher tyres. We're going to dive down the inside, and we are through on the Alpine driver and up into P9 in this race. I've skipped towards the final lap because there's nothing happening. We are in no man's land, and we have got 2.8 seconds to Kimi Antonelli. We are set in stone for P7 unless anything in this race could happen to us. Through the long left we go, and we get a puncture, and we have lost pressure in our front left tyre, and it is all going to go away. We are P7, we've got 2.3 seconds, but the tyre is shredded, and now we are going to lose places hand over fist here towards the other drivers. Here they all come, and now round the final corner comes Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen in the Miami again. Verstappen wins the Miami Grand Prix and takes another victory in 2025. There is Hamilton following in home, and then comes Lando Norris in P3, Leclerc in P4, Oscar Piastri in P5, and Yuki Tsunoda in P6, and we're going to trundle our way home for a P17 finish at this year's Miami Grand Prix after looking for points.
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
Well, another race victory today. You could clearly see they're driving out there with very little pressure. You know they have the performance. They know they've got the car under them as well. And this has done no harm, of course, for their championship chances.
Well, it's been a long wait for many of our drivers, but the wait is always worth it. Bring them out to the awaiting crowd It's time for our podium celebrations. And for those that have missed the Dutch national anthem, fear not. It's back again because Max Verstappen is back on the top step. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
There's your overall point scorers. Here's your race results. Verstappen wins, Hamilton second, Lando third, Leclerc fourth, Piastri fifth, Tsunoda sixth, and then Gasly, Antonelli, Albon and Lawson finish off the points. Jenson Button finishes P15, we finish in P17. Here's your driver standards. Verstappen leads by 13 points, I believe. And now we go to the constructors, and Alpine pull closer to us, 5 points between ourselves and Alpine now. Mercedes barely pull away. And if you did enjoy this episode of the F1 Brawn GP My Team Career, consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all for the next race, where we head over to our first European race of the season at the Emiliana-Romagna Grand Prix. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you for that episode of this thrilling Brawn GP My Team Career Mode.